Maharashtra, which was first known as State of Bombay, and by enacting the Bombay Reorganization Act of 1960, the state emerged as Maharashtra. Although Maharashtra became a state, it has a vast and glorious history. Maharashtra comprises of various elements such as heroic and glorious history, rich culture, languages, etc. Maharashtra has always been the center of power in history of India, be it in the medieval era in the struggle of independence. Savarkar used to say, Maharashtra is the sword of India. Today, on account of Maharashtra Din, we are going to take a short tour of Maharashtra, its history, culture, language, and the people who shaped it. History. Traces of Maharashtra can be found back from 4th century BCE. The oldest Marathi Prakrit sculpture were found which dated around 975 BCE. In the epics of Ramayana and Mahabharata accounts can be found in the regions of Maharashtra. In Ramayana, Lord Ram lived in Panchavati, that is today's Nashik. In Mahabharata, many such instances can be found where Pandavas lived in caves in Maharashtra. Historically, the region of Maharashtra was known as Dandakaranya, which means area of forest. There lived a tribe named Bhil, which used to call themselves as Rathi, which further came to be known as Marathi and eventually as Marathi. First traces of the word Marathi is found in the texts of Chinese traveler around 639 BCE named Hunsang. He stayed at Amravati and studied the Abhidhamma Pitaka texts. He observed that there were many viharas at Amravati and some of them were deserted. He continued travelling to Nashik, Ajanta and Malwa. From there, he went to Multan and Pravata before returning to Nalanda again. He was the first to name this region as Maharashtra in his texts. The region that is present-day Maharashtra has been formed part of a number of states including the Maurya Empire, the Satavahana dynasty, the Kadamba dynasty, the Vaktaka dynasty, the Chalukya dynasty and the Rashtrakud dynasty. Some of the greatest monuments in Maharashtra such as the Ajanta and Ellora caves were built during the time of these empires. These kings and kingdoms were able to leave behind their culture, traditions, monuments, buildings and language which kept its essence till the rise of Maratha and Mughal invasions. Many forts were constructed in this era which were later used by Mughals and Marathas. Around 14th century, Maharashtra was ruled by Yadavs of Devgiri, presently known as Daulatabad, was attacked by Alauddin Khilji. Later, Muhammad bin Tughlaq conquered parts of Deccan and temporarily shifted his capital from Delhi to Daulatabad in Maharashtra. The main reason for such continuous invasions in this region was primarily due to its wealth. The accounts regarding the wealth of Yadavs can be found in contemporary texts. Palaces of Yadavs were made of gold plating and many goods which were of day-to-day use were of gold and silver. As this region was close to sea, trade was also easy and cheap. With addition to this, Maharashtra has a geographical location that helps to rule and keep a look on rest of India. This was also a reason that resulted in the split of Bahmani Empire which was further divided into 5 kingdoms. The Great Marathas. The Marathas ruled Maharashtra from 1674 to 1818 CE. This empire began with Shivaji Maharaj, Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. When we talk about Maharashtra, one thing that comes immediately to our mind is Shivaji Maharaj. To look at the history before him, India was ruled by Mughals and 5 Bahmani rulers, namely Nizam Shah of Ahmednagar Sultanate, Adil Shah of Bijapur, Qutub Shah of Golconda, Bidar Shah of Bidar and Imad Shah of Illichpur, which often used to fight with each other and the locals used to fight from one of the sides. A phase in Maharashtra was seen where one brother used to fight for one kingdom and the other opposite to him. With all these adverse circumstances, there was rise of such a king who changed these conditions completely. We today know as Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, the king who gave Maharashtra new existence and a way of living. Shivaji Maharaj drove Marathi people from traps of Mughals to independence, that is Swarajya. Shivaji Maharaj gave new way of thinking to people of Swarajya which intended to a kingdom of the people who lived there. Further, he was crowned as the king of Maharashtra and a throne came into an existence which was made by the Marathi people. Many texts are found which talk about rule, administration and justice of Shivaji Maharaj. Many foreign travelers which came to his kingdom are also written. Shivaji Maharaj was such a king that every traveler that visited or met him was astonished by his bravery, policies, warfare and politics. Contemporary English writers compared him with Alexander, Hannibal and Julius Caesar, and some of the others wrote that Shivaji Maharaj is more brave strategist than all of the leaders of all times. Shivaji Maharaj was also the founder of guerrilla warfare which he used many times in a battle. Even in today's modern wars, these tactics are used by many contraries. Best example for this is the war between Vietnam and America. Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj has defeated Mughals with the same guerrilla tactics. Vietnamese soldiers followed the same path. The president of Vietnam said after winning the battle that they followed the strategy of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj and therefore they could defeat powerful America. After the death of Shivaji Maharaj, he was succeeded by his son Sambhaji Maharaj. By following the path of his father, he further made an expansion of Maratha Empire. He ruled Maratha Empire for almost 8 years. He fought with full bravery and courage but was ultimately captured by Mughals. He was forced to convert to Islam, which he refused to do so. He showed the people how to sacrifice one's life for keeping Dharma alive. Hence, he was honored with the title Dharmavir. Maratha's rule was continued under the rule of Sahu Maharaj, who appointed the Prime Minister Peshwa as Balaji Vishwanath Bhatt. And this was the beginning of a new era of Marathi history of Peshwai. Bajirao Peshwa I. He was the second Peshwa of the crown of Satara. He was Bajirao and was appointed as a Peshwa, succeeding his father by Shahu on 17th April 1720. By the time of his appointment, the Mughal Emperor Muhammad Shah had upheld the Maratha claims to the territories held by Shivaji at his death. A treaty gave the Marathas the right to collect taxes in the Deccan's 6 provinces. He took Maratha Empire to Delhi and hoisted the Maratha flag on the Red Fort. He was succeeded by Madhavrao I, and this era continued till the battle with the British. Maharashtra and ultimately India witnessed many political, historical, social and cultural developments during this era. India's first navy was brought into operation by Shivaji Maharaj. Maratha Empire spread its arm to the Central Asia. Culturally, it regained its lost traditions, and many saints and bhakti movement came into force. Maharashtra and British colonial era from 1818 to 1947 CE. The East India Company controlled Mumbai in the beginning of the 17th century and used it as one of their main trading posts. The company slowly expanded areas under its rule during the 18th century. The conquest of Maharashtra was completed in 1818 with the defeat of Peshwa Bajirao II in the Third Anglo-Maratha War. In the initial stage, Maharashtra was under the rule of Marathas and which was taken over by British. Till the revolt of 1857, Marathas were not in picture. As there was a spark of revolt seen in the British Indian Army, Nanasaheb Peshwa stepped into this revolt. Tatya Tope, along with Rani Lakshmi Bai, Mangal Pandey and many Marathas took part in this revolt. Although British were able to suppress this revolt, it was the start of new era of revolutionaries in Maharashtra. Revolutionaries that contributed in the War of Independence are uncountable, but some of them that were spearhead of this movement were Lokmanya Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Umaji Naik, Savitribai and Jyotiba Rao Phule, Vasudev Balwant Phadke, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, Gopal Krishna Gokhale, Mahadev Govind Ranade and Vinayak Damodar Savarkar, and many more. Once there was such a situation in India that many of the important decisions were taken by Maharashtra. Tilak. He was the first revolutionary who demanded Purna Swaraj, that is complete independence. He gave India the slogan, Swarajya is my birthright and I shall have it. With this slogan, he inspired many of youths. Some of them are Chapekar brothers who killed Commissioner Rand in 1897. Tilak also made his idea public through newspaper in Kesari. Umaji Naik. The second decade of 19th century, Umaji Naik had hoisted the first flag of rebel in Maharashtra against unjust British rule in India, and next 14 years he gave trouble to the British government. Umaji Naik took training from his father of spying, archery and handling of sword, axe and using the gofan. The work of guarding Purandar Fort was assigned to Khomde family of Umaji Naik, so the title of Naik was awarded to people in this family. Third, Savitribai and Jyotiba Rao Phule. In the struggle of independence, Maharashtra witnessed not only political but also social changes. Phule was one of the first revolutionaries who took a stand against unjust customs. Along with Savitribai, he opened first girls' school in Pune. Fourth, Vasudev Balwant Phadke. He was in the military service in the British government. During his service period, he got very unjust and insulting treatment from British officers. As a result, the national feeling was awakened in his mind. He took part in the work of Sarvajanik Sabha in Pune. He knew from the writings and speeches of Justice Mahadev Govind Ranade how the British oppressed the Indian wealth. From that time onwards, he decided to use the handloom clothes. He also started a campaign about the indigenous goods. He toured the drought-affected districts in Maharashtra. He saw bravery, courage, and the severe feelings and hatred against British in the people of Billa, Ramashi communities in these 7 districts. He made up his mind to use such a feeling for the rebel. 5th, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. He was an Indian jurist, economist, politician, and a social reformer who inspired the Dalit Buddhist movement and campaigned against social discrimination towards the untouchables, that is Dalits. He was a British India's Minister of Labour in Viceroy's Executive Council, a member of the Constituent Drafting Committee, the Independent India's first Minister of Law and Justice, and was considered as the chief architect of Constitution of India. 6th, Gopal Krishna Gokhale. He was an Indian liberal political leader and a social reformer during the independence movement. He was a senior leader of the Indian National Congress and was the founder of the Servants of Indian Society. Through the society as well as the Congress and other legislative bodies he served in, Gokhale campaigned for Indian self-rule and for social reforms. He was the leader of the moderate faction of the Congress party that advocated reforms by working with existing government institutions. 7th, Mahadev Govind Ranade was an Indian scholar, a social reformer, a judge, and an author. Ranade was one of the founding members of the Indian National Congress Party and owned several designations as member of the Bombay Legislative Council, member of the Finance Committee at the Centre, and judge of the Bombay High Court in Maharashtra. Ranade was a well-known public figure. During his life, Ranade helped to establish the Vaktrutva Tejak Sabha, the Pune Sarvajanik Sabha, Maharashtra Granthotejak Sabha, and the Prarthana Samaj, and edited a Bombay Anglo-Marathi daily paper, the Hindu Prakash, founded on his ideology of social and religious reforms. 8th, Vinayak Damodar Savarkar. By taking the encouragement from the sacrifice of Safikar brothers, Vinayak Damodar Savarkar established Mitra Mela Circle in 1900 at Nashik. He felt that it was an essential to defend government with the weapons to achieve the goal of freedom. The youth who agreed with the above view were admitted in Mitra Mela. They were mentally prepared for the self-sacrifice and the biography of Indian revolutionaries such as Mazzini and the Irish revolutionaries were told to them. They were given information regarding ways adopted by the revolutionaries. The weapons were purchased and training of handling weapons were given to the youths. This work was done secretly. In this work, Babara Savarkar, Trambak Raghunath, Vaman Keshav, Ramachandra Keshav and Datar brothers were involved. In 1904, name of Mitra Mela was changed as Abhinav Bharat Society. These are some of the personalities that helped to shape today's Maharashtra. Maharashtra and Bhakti movement. Santa Namdev from 1270 to 1350 AD. He was born in 1270 and was the disciple of Vishobha Khechar. He preached the sublime gospel of love and devotion and liberated the people from the shackles of rituals and caste system. He was opposed to worship idol and religious intolerance. He held that salvation could be achieved through bhakti or devotion to God. Emphasizing the inefficacy of the external acts of religion, Namdev said, "Vows, fasts and austerities are not all necessary, nor is it necessary for you to go on a pilgrimage. Be you watchful in the hearts and always sing the name of Hari. It is not necessary to give up eating food or drink water. Fix your mind on the feet of Hari. Yoga or sacrificial ceremonies or giving up objects of desire is not wanted. Realize a fondness for the feet of Hari." Sant Tukaram from 1601 to 1649. One of the most prominent saints of Maharashtra was Sant Tukaram. He was born in Shudra family which was devoted to the worship of Vithoba. He led a normal life during childhood and took to trade at the age of 14. Even Shivaji had great admiration for Tukaram Maharaj. The teachings of Tukaram Maharaj are contained in numerous abhangas. Sant Tukaram insisted that it was not possible to combine both spiritual joy and the activity in the world. A person who tries to achieve both in the end achieves neither. Tukaram's conception of God is almost identical to that of Sant Kabir. Third, Ramda Swami. Another great saint of Maharashtra was Sant Ramda Swami. Unlike Tukaram, Samartha Ramdas believed that only success in sansar can lead to success in Paramartha and the former was a necessary condition for the latter. Samartha Ramdas tried to integrate different sciences and arts of life with religious quest and a monumental work in which he has the right to accomplish this entitled Dasbodh. Shivaji Maharaj was greatly inspired by the teachings of Samartha Ramdas. He advised Shivaji to adorn his body not only with clothes and ornaments but with shrewdness and wisdom. As a result of the teachings of these saints, certain changes in the society were also effected. They subordinated the importance of the rites and ceremonies, and of pilgrimages and fasts, and of learning and contemplation, to the higher excellence of worship by means of love and faith. It checked the excess of polytheism. Fourth, Santa Eknath. He was born in 1544 at Pratishthan, now Paithan, in Maharashtra, and was a poet, saint, and mystic of Vaishnavism, the branch of Hinduism that reveres the deity Vishnu and his avatars, that is, incarnations. Eknath is best known for his translations of various Sanskrit texts into Marathi, the local language of the Maharashtra region of central India. His authorship of others in that language, example, a vernacular version of the Ramayana, and his restored edition of the then incorporated classic of Marathi literature, the Jnaneshwari of the poet Saint Jnaneshwar. The object of this scholarship was to bring the means of salvation through devotion, that is bhakti, within the reach and understanding of ordinary people, including outcasts and women. Fifth, in the 13th century, a small percentage of the society in Maharashtra knew the Sanskrit language and followed the religious and other books written in that language. The majority of these people of the society were therefore denied the key to religious books or to knowledge. At such a stage in the history of Maharashtra, there arose a very big star on the horizon of knowledge, who pledged himself to writing in the language of the people, that is the Marathi language. This star was none else but Sant Jnaneshwar, who was bold enough to go against the traditions of his times of writing in the Sanskrit language and to use Marathi as the vehicle of his preaching. Jnaneshwar was also very sure about the power of the Marathi language, that he writes in Jnaneshwari that is highly appreciative, and the readers will surely say that Marathi language is even sweeter than nectar. Sculptures and monuments. First, Shaniwar Wada. It is a royal residence built by the second Peshwa Bajirao I, and Shaniwar Wada, which is located in Pune. The construction of Shaniwar Wada began on 10th of January 1730. It is said that Bajirao Peshwa I laid the foundation by collecting handful of mud from the nearby Lal Mahal. Second, Lal Mahal. It is a red brick building situated in Pune. Shivaji spent here most of his childhood. There are statues of Jizamata, Shivaji's mother, and a structure showing young Shivaji plowing with a golden plow. Third, Ajanta Caves. Ajanta Caves are at a distance of 99 km from Maharashtra's Aurangabad district. It is believed that Ajanta Caves started carving from 2nd century BC and ended at 6th century AD. Thus, entire course of the evolution of Buddhist architecture can be traced in Ajanta. Fourth, Raigad Fort. It was the capital of Marathas under Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. Britishers named it Gibraltar of the East, as well as the fortified structure atop of hill that had repeatedly defied attackers. Shivaji Maharaj built the fort in 14th century. Traditions and festivals. Gudi Padwa signifies the beginning of a prosperous new year, and Hindus considered it to be one of the most auspicious days. It falls on the first day of the lunar calendar, marking the new year. It is celebrated with great pomp and show all over the state. Households are decorated with garlands and rangolis, and a gudi is put up outside the home to welcome prosperity and good health into the family. Gudi is a symbol of victory and characterized by a bamboo stick. A silk cloth is garlanded with flowers and has sweets offered to it. Second, Lord Ganesha, the deity of wisdom, is the most loved in Maharashtra, and Ganesh Chaturthi is celebrated with most grandeur. In August, preparations for the auspicious day when Lord Ganesh was born begin with great enthusiasm. It is an 11-day festival beginning with the installation of beautifully sculpted Ganesh idols in homes and large pandals colorfully decorated and depicting religious and cultural themes. The Ganesh idols are worshipped and many cultural events are organized. People throng the huge pandals to catch a glimpse of their favorite god, visit to friends and families to offer prayers and join the celebrations, or partake some of the delicious food is also offered to him. It is also a great chance to gorge on modaks, that is steamed rice flour dumplings with succulent coconut and ghee filling, since they are considered to be the Lord's favorite food. On the 11th day comes the time to bid farewell to Ganesha. People take the idols in procession with an accompaniment of music and dance for immersion in the sea, a nearby river or a lake. Third, Gokulashtami or Janmashtami. is celebrated for the birth of Lord Krishna. Devotees fast till midnight on the eve of the birth of Lord Krishna. Krishna Janma is celebrated at midnight at temples and in homes amidst bhajans, that is devotional songs, marking the birth of him. The next day is celebrated as Gokulashtami. Devotees remember how the Lord was very fond of butter and used to go to great lengths to obtain butter. In honor of the beloved Lord, a ritual performed on this day is Dahi Handi. Clay pots filled with curd, puffed rice, and milk are strung high above the streets. Group of enthusiastic youngsters form human pyramids to reach up to these and break them open, the way Lord Krishna and his friends would, after sneaking into the houses of gopis to steal butter. People throng in great numbers to see these human pyramids and their attempts at breaking the pot of butter. Fourth, Makar Sankranti, also known as Uttarayan or Pongal in other parts of the country. It is the celebration of the winter solstice. It is the celebration of the advent of spring, the day when the sun leaves the southern hemisphere and begins its journey in the northern hemisphere. Following the glorious tradition of kite flying, there can be plenty of kites seen dotting the sky on this day. Meals of gorachi pori, that is jaggery flatbreads, are prepared to keep everyone warm. These are some festivals that are celebrated throughout Maharashtra with devotion and joy. In modern era, Maharashtra has produced a number of personalities who have made not only Maharashtra proud but the whole of nation, such as Lata Mangeshkar, Sachin Tendulkar, Balasaheb Gangadhar Kher, Homi Jehangir Bhabha, Babasaheb Garware, General Manoj Narwane, Chief Justice Sharad Bobde, Vasant Purushottam Kale, Ranjit Desai, Pula Deshpande, Babasaheb Purandare, Vijay Bhatkar, Raghunath Mashilkar, and Baba Amte. And the list is unending. This was a short little tour of Maharashtra, a state of great people and brave history. We must be proud as a citizen of a state which has such a glorious and magnetic history. With this feeling, we should also remember the sacrifice and hardships that the people made for making this state by its name as Maharashtra. It is our duty and responsibility that we should protect the monuments that are symbols of bravery and courage. By these words, we from our organization have tried to give a small tribute to the state of Maharashtra. Thank you. Namaste. Jai Hind, Jai Maharashtra.